They say, no matter how far you go in life, you should never forget the hands that raised you. But in a city where respect is measured by success, Tunde chose a different path. A path where pride spoke louder than love, and silence replaced gratitude. So one day, he made a decision that felt small in the moment, but would echo through the rest of his life. He turned his back on the one person who never turned hers. And just like that, everything began to change. The life he built started slipping through his fingers like butter. The people he trusted all disappeared, and the world he thought he owned slowly turned against him. But the truth was waiting. Quiet, heavy, unforgiving. Because the woman he saw as a burden was the one who carried his dreams long before he ever could. And when he finally understood, when everything became clear, it seemed like it was too late. The morning air in Lagos carried its usual rhythm. Distant horns, quiet conversations, the hum of life already in motion. Inside a modest compound, time moved more slowly. The house was small, worn by years, but held together with care. Every object inside had a history. Every corner had been lived in. In the kitchen, a woman moved with quiet familiarity. Tunde's mother. Her hands, slightly trembling with age, worked carefully as she prepared a simple meal, the kind she had made for years, not out of routine, but out of love. She paused briefly, not because she was tired, but because something felt missing. Her eyes shifted toward the doorway. Empty. She stood still for a moment longer than necessary, as if expecting someone to walk in. No one did. Across the city, in a world that felt entirely different, Tunde adjusted his wristwatch. Everything about him spoke of progress. Clean clothes, sharp posture, controlled presence. He stood in front of a mirror inside a modern apartment, observing himself not with pride but with quiet validation. This was who he had become, and to him, it mattered. Behind him, the city stretched endlessly through a glass window. Lights, movement, opportunity. A life far removed from where he started. "Are you ready?" Amaka's voice came softly from behind him. She leaned casually against the wall, composed, watching him with a faint smile that was difficult to fully read. Tunde glanced at her briefly. A small nod. No words. He picked up his phone. A notification flashed briefly on the screen. Missed call. Mom. He stared at it, just for a second. Then his expression hardened slightly, not with anger, but with dismissal. He locked the phone, placed it face down, and walked past it. Back in the compound, the food sat untouched. The mother carefully arranged it anyway. 2 plates, out of habit. She sat down slowly, her eyes fixed on the empty seat across from her. Time passed. The food grew cold, but she did not move it. Days turned into patterns. Calls unanswered, messages unread. Silence growing where conversation once lived. One evening, she tried again. Her fingers pressed slowly against the phone keys. It rang, and rang, and rang, then stopped. She lowered the phone gently, not in frustration, but in understanding. A kind of understanding that does not come all at once, but settles slowly into the heart. Across the city, laughter filled the room. Tunde sat among people who admired him, respected him, listened when he spoke. Here he was seen. Here he mattered. And for a while, that was enough. But distance has a way of growing quietly. Not through noise, but through neglect. Not through hatred, but through small decisions left unchecked. Back in the quiet house, night fell. The mother turned off the light, sat alone in the dark for a moment, then slowly lay down, her eyes open, not sleeping, just thinking. In another part of the city, Tunde slept easily, unaware that something important was already beginning to fade. And somewhere between those two worlds, a line had been crossed, not loudly, not suddenly, but deeply. And, without realizing it, Tunde had already begun to lose something he would one day wish he never let go. She did not plan it for long. Not because she didn't care, but because waiting had already taken too much from her. So one morning, quietly, she decided to go. The journey felt longer than it was, not because of distance, but because of what she carried in her heart. Hope. The kind that survives even when it has been ignored. When she arrived, the building stood tall, unfamiliar, cold. Nothing like the place she once called home. She stood at the entrance for a moment, adjusting her wrapper gently, as if preparing herself, not for the place, but for the person inside. The door opened. Tunde stood there. For a second, time paused. Her face softened, a small smile. Moriel or mommy, I have seen you, my son. Tunde didn't smile back. His expression tightened. Mommy, you didn't tell me you were coming. No warmth, no movement forward, just distance. She stepped in slowly, looking around. Everything was clean, perfect, but empty. Not physically, emotionally. Amaka stood by the side, watching, quiet, composed. Her eyes moved slowly over the mother, judging, measuring. You are welcome, ma, she said, but there was no warmth in it. The mother nodded gently. Thank you, my daughter. She sat carefully, her hands resting on her lap, trying to belong in a place that did not open itself to her. Silence stretched, uncomfortable, heavy. I called you, she said softly, looking at Tunde. No answer. Tunde exhaled slightly. Mommy, I've been busy. A pause. Then quietly. Too busy. For me? That question lingered in the air. Not loud, but deep. Tunde's jaw tightened. Mommy, please, don't start. Amaka shifted slightly, watching. I'm not starting anything, the mother replied, gently. I just wanted to see my son. You are here now, aren't you? Tunde snapped. Silence. The kind that follows something that should not have been said. The mother looked at him, longer this time, searching his face, as if trying to find the boy she raised. This is not you, she said quietly. That was it. The line. Tunde stepped forward slightly, his voice lower now, controlled. This is exactly who I am. No, she shook her head slowly. My son would not speak to me like this. Something shifted in his eyes. Not just anger, something deeper. pressure, ego, pride. Then maybe you don't know your son anymore. That landed deep. Amaka let out a soft breath, almost amused. The mother saw it, and something inside her closed.
The mother's voice softened even more, pain now sitting inside it. What happened to you, Tunde? And then, everything broke. What do you want from me? Tunde's voice rose suddenly, sharp, explosive. Silence immediately followed. But it was different now. Tense, dangerous. The mother flinched slightly, not out of fear, but shock. I gave you everything, she said, her voice trembling now. Everything I had. And I've made something of myself. Is that not what you wanted? Tunde fired back. Not like this, she whispered. That whisper hit harder than anything else. Tunde stepped closer, too close. Then how, Mommy? His voice dropped, cold. Tell me how. She looked at him, eyes full, not angry, just broken. This is not how I raised you. And in that moment, he chose. His hand moved, fast, controlled. Slap! The sound cut through everything, clean, sharp, final. Her head turned with the force, her body lost balance, and she fell. Silence. Complete silence. On the ground, she looked up, slowly, her eyes wide, not with pain, but with something deeper. Fear, disbelief, distance, as if she was no longer looking at her son. In the background, Amaka smiled, softly, quietly, almost entertained. She saw it, and something inside her closed. She did not shout, she did not cry, not yet. She simply stood up, slowly, carefully, adjusted her wrapper, looked at him one last time, and said very softly, "Eshe o mommy." Thank you, my son. But it did not sound like gratitude. It sounded like goodbye. Then she turned and walked away. No one stopped her. And just like that, a line had been crossed. Not loudly, not suddenly, but deeply. And nothing would ever be the same. At first, nothing happened. That was the most dangerous part. The world did not stop. The city still moved. People still laughed. Cars still filled the roads. And Tunde continued his life. But something had shifted, quietly, permanently. The apartment felt different. Not empty, but colder. Amaka still sat beside him, still spoke, still smiled, but not the same way. She watched him more now, not with admiration, but with awareness. One night, she asked, "You slapped your own mother like that?" A pause, then softly, "If you can do that to her, what about me?" Tunde didn't respond immediately. His jaw tightened. I was angry. Amaka held his gaze. That wasn't anger. A beat. That was who you are. That line stayed long after the conversation ended. Days passed. Then weeks. Calls stopped coming. At first, Tunde didn't notice. Then one evening, he did. He picked up his phone, scrolled, stopped. No missed calls. No messages. Nothing. He stared at the screen longer than necessary. Then he locked it. But this time, it didn't feel like control. It felt like something was missing. He tried to shake it off, went out, met people, laughed, but it didn't land the same way. The laughter around him felt distant, muted. Even Amaka was quieter now, more observant. Then, slowly, she began to pull away. Not dramatically, just less. Fewer conversations, shorter responses, longer silences. Until one day, she stood in front of him, calm, finished. "I don't think I can do this." Tunde frowned slightly. "Do what?" "This." She gestured between them. "You." He let out a dry laugh. "You're serious?" Amaka nodded. "I saw something that day." She paused. "And I can't unsee it." Silence. "You don't respect where you come from," she added quietly. "And one day, you won't respect anything." That hit deeper than expected. But instead of responding, Tunde looked away. And just like that, she left. No fight, no drama. Just absence. The same way his mother left. Now the apartment was quiet. Truly quiet. Days stretched longer. Nights became heavier. Sleep became inconsistent. One night, he reached for his phone, scrolled, stopped, still nothing. This time, he called. It rang and rang and rang. No answer. He pulled the phone away slowly, stared at it, then called again. Nothing. Again. Nothing. The silence on the other end began to feel loud, louder than anything. Something wasn't right. The next morning, he went back to the place he hadn't visited in so long. The compound looked smaller, quieter, or maybe he was just seeing it differently now. He walked in slowly, each step heavier than the last. The door was closed. He stood there for a long moment, then knocked. No response. Again, nothing. A neighbor's voice came from behind. "You're just coming now?" Tunde turned, confused. The man looked at him, not with anger, not even with judgment, just understanding. That kind of understanding that comes too late. "She waited," the man said quietly. Tunde's chest tightened slightly. Every day, she waited. Silence. Then, she stopped calling. A pause. Not because she didn't want to, but because she couldn't anymore. That was the moment. The shift, the realization had begun. The words did not land all at once. They never do. But because she couldn't anymore, Tunde stood still. His body heard it, but his mind was still catching up. What do you mean, couldn't? His voice was quieter now. Not defensive, not angry, just uncertain. The neighbor looked at him, longer this time. You really don't know? That question alone shifted something. Tunde's chest tightened slightly. No, barely audible. Silence followed. The kind that prepares you for something you are not ready to hear. She was sick. Simple, but heavy. For a long time. Tunde blinked slowly. She didn't tell you? He didn't answer. Because deep down, he already knew why. She said you were busy. A pause. She didn't want to stress you. That hit deeper. But it wasn't the end. The neighbor exhaled slowly. And then, one evening, Tunde's eyes lifted. She collapsed. Everything inside him paused. They rushed her to the hospital. Silence. Not empty. Heavy. Tunde took a step back. She kept asking for you. That was it. That was the moment. Not loud, not dramatic, but complete. The shift. The realization had begun. Images flooded in, not slowly this time, all at once. Her calling, him ignoring. Her waiting, him postponing. Her voice, soft, patient, now distant. Tunde's breathing changed, slightly uneven. She was calling your name, the neighbor added quietly, even when she was weak. Tunde swallowed hard, his throat suddenly dry. The space around him felt smaller, the air heavier. Which hospital? The question came out fast, urgent, different. The neighbor pointed down the road. Tunde didn't wait. He turned immediately and ran. Not thinking, not planning, just moving. His steps were fast, unsteady. His chest tight. His mind louder than ever. Every memory now clearer, sharper. The slap. That moment. Her face. That look. He shook his head slightly as he ran, as if trying to escape it. But it followed. Faster. Stronger. I'm coming, he whispered under his breath. I'm coming, Mommy. For the first time, he wasn't avoiding. He wasn't delaying. He wasn't choosing anything else. He was choosing her. But the question remained, was it too late or just in time? The hospital smelled different, clean, quiet, unforgiving. Tunde didn't slow down. Not this time. He moved past people, past voices, past everything, until he saw her name. On the door. His steps slowed, just slightly, as if his body was afraid of what it might find. He reached for the handle, paused, then pushed. The room was still. Machines hummed softly, and there she was, smaller than he remembered, weaker, but still there, his mother. Tunde stopped at the entrance. For a moment, he couldn't move. This wasn't the woman he slapped. This was someone fragile, Someone tired. Someone who had been waiting. His chest tightened. He stepped forward slowly. Each step heavier than the last. Her eyes were closed. He got closer, sat beside her. His hands rested on his knees at first, unsure. Then slowly, he reached out and held her hand. It was warm, but weak. His fingers tightened slightly. "Mommy," his voice broke immediately. No control this time. "I'm sorry." The words came out uneven. Real. "I'm sorry I didn't come. I'm sorry I didn't pick up. I'm sorry." Silence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a small movement. Her fingers. Slight, but real. Tunde froze. Her eyes opened slowly. Heavy, but aware. She looked at him. Not shocked. Not angry. Just tired and soft. As if she had been expecting him. Tears filled his eyes instantly. "I'm here," he whispered. "I'm here now." She blinked slowly. Her grip of the hand tightened just a little. And in that small movement, there was everything. Not full forgiveness, not complete healing, but something deeper. A chance. Days later, the house felt different again. Not heavy, not empty, just quiet. Tunde moved slowly through it. More aware now, more present. He reached the table, and there it was, the photograph. He picked it up gently. The same one, a younger version of him, standing beside his mother. She was smiling, bright, alive. And him, holding her hand tightly. He stared at it. Then slowly, he sat down, in the same place she used to sit. But this time, not in regret, in understanding. He looked toward the doorway, as if expecting her. And for once, that expectation didn't hurt. Because now, he knew he still had time. He looked back at the photo. A soft breath left his lips. "Thank you." Not loud, but real. Then he stood up, walked toward the room where she rested, alive. The house was quiet again. But this time, it wasn't filled with regret. It was filled with something else. A second chance. And this time, he wasn't going to waste it.
When I was your age, the harvest was so plentiful the baskets broke.
Oh, grandfather, you always tell the best stories.
Time moved. But this time, Tunde moved with it. The calls came first. Not missed, not ignored. Answered. Every time. Sometimes short, sometimes long. but never postponed. Visits followed. Not out of obligation, but intention. The house slowly changed. Not physically, but emotionally. Laughter returned. Soft at first, then real. The silence that once filled the space was no longer heavy. It became peaceful.
One evening, Tunde sat outside. The same spot. The same place she used to wait. But now, she sat beside him. Alive, quiet, present. No words were needed. Just presence. Just time. Just being there. He glanced at her briefly, then forward again. A small smile forming. Not loud, not dramatic, just real. Inside the house, the photograph remained, unmoved, unchanged. But its meaning was no longer the same. It had become something else. A reminder to choose better. Every day, every moment, every call. And somewhere beyond this house, beyond this story, someone else's phone lights up. A name appears. Mom. And for a moment, they hesitate. Then, they remember. Not this story, but the feeling. And this time, they pick up. The screen fades slowly. Not to darkness, but to silence. Soft, peaceful, earned. And the final words appear. While you still can, choose them. If this story touched you, even a little, don't just scroll past it. Subscribe to Growing Sticks to Trees, where we bring you the real stories of Africa, raw, emotional, and unforgettable. Stories that stay with you long after they end. And if you don't want to miss what's coming next, turn on the notification bell so you're always the first to experience it. Because here, every story means something.